One of the biggest shifts in the watch industry in the last 5 years, particularly in the affordable end of the segment, has been the rise of Chinese manufacturers selling direct to the public through sites like AliExpress. And the progression that these manufacturers have made in the last 5 years is pretty astounding, to the point that they've really redefined what people's expectations are from affordable watches from the big brands. And while it seems like there's a new Chinese brand coming out almost every day, one brand that has really distinguished itself is San Martin. And while San Martin has developed a well-earned reputation for making very high-quality watches with great specifications over the last few years, they haven't been as successful in creating original designs, instead relying on homages and copying more expensive luxury watches for their designs. But they have been trying to change that, and I think they finally nailed it with the watch we're going to be checking out today. Today we're checking out one of San Martin's newly released GMT watches. This is a watch with incredibly high specifications, and while there's nothing groundbreaking about the design of this watch, it does have a fresh, fun, vintage look, and if you pick it up on the AliExpress 11/11 sale, they're saying you can get it for around $220, which is insane when you see all the stuff that they've packed into this watch from a specifications and build quality standpoint. So let's take a look and get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to Just the Watch. My name's Dave. I live in Japan and I love to collect affordable watches. And one of the best places to go for affordable watches is direct from China from sites like AliExpress. This watch from San Martin that we're looking at today features the Seiko NH34 automatic GMT movement inside of it. It has a sapphire crystal, it has a ceramic bezel, it has a bi-directional 24-click rotating GMT bezel, it has a beautifully finished beads of rice bracelet with a tool-free micro-adjust clasp that allows you to adjust the size of the bracelet on the fly when you're out and about. And again, you can get all of this on the 11/11 sale for around $220, which is just crazy for those specifications. And to top it all off, I think this has a really appealing design that is not an homage of some other luxury watch out there. And so I think this is a watch that we really should pay attention to. Now, I do need to mention that this watch was sent to me for free by San Martin to facilitate this review. However, on the watch itself, I did not receive any compensation from them, nor did they have any input into the content of this review. And since I haven't set up affiliate marketing with AliExpress yet, I'm kind of leaving money on the table here, but I will leave a link to San Martin's store on AliExpress to make it easier for you guys to find this watch. So with that out of the way, let's take a look and see why I think this watch is so special. Well, the design of this watch is what makes it really interesting and what I think makes it stand out from a lot of the other watches on AliExpress. Still, the biggest draw of this watch is going to be the specifications and the components that are put in for the price that they're offering, particularly if you can pick it up on the AliExpress 11/11 sale. This watch is powered by Seiko's new NH34 automatic GMT movement. So while the watch itself is manufactured by a relatively new brand out of China, the movement inside of the watch is by Seiko, which is one of the most respected movement makers and watchmakers in the world. So this is going to give you a lot of peace of mind about the internals, the actual timekeeping mechanics. This is a reliable movement from Seiko, one that you will be able to get serviced and maintained if you need to later on down the road. And notably, this is a GMT movement, so this watch will enable you to track the time in 2 different time zones using that 4th GMT hand. And it's just crazy that you can get an automatic GMT watch for this $250 price range. And that's even before you consider everything else that San Martin is packing in here. For instance, you're getting a beautifully domed sapphire crystal, meaning that it will be pretty much scratch-proof. And on top of that, it's just a great-looking vintage-style domed crystal. Really adds to the character of the watch. Also adding to the character is a very nice blue ceramic bezel. It has a glossy premium look, and the 24-hour markers for the GMT time are also loomed as well. Like sapphire, ceramic is incredibly scratch resistant, so this is a bezel insert that will last for a long time without showing significant signs of wear. This is a GMT watch that features a 24-hour scale on the bezel for reading that second time zone, and traditionally what you're supposed to have here is a bi-directional bezel. Now, because Seiko recently came out with this new budget automatic GMT movement, a lot of brands have started doing GMT watches with this 24-hour bezel, And almost every single one of them, rather than using the bidirectional bezel, they just use the same bezel action as a diver's watch, a 120-click unidirectional bezel, which makes it a little bit more difficult to use, but it saves some cost because the dive time bezel action is much more commonly manufactured. The other way a lot of these affordable GMTs will handle this is by putting a friction fit bezel, so rather than having any clicks or action, it's just a smooth rotation in either direction. But San Martin has actually gone out of their way to include a 48-click bidirectional bezel, and the action on this is excellent. Everything lines up perfectly. It's just such a satisfying bezel to use, and I really find it impressive to see this bezel on a watch in this price range. I reviewed another watch that had the same bezel from San Martin. I was really excited about it, but they did this weird thing of putting the wrong kind of scale on that. They had a timing scale instead of 24-hour scale, so that was actually the wrong bezel action, even though it was a GMT watch. Anyways, it's really cool to see them come out with this one now and kind of remedy that, and they nailed it perfectly this time. And I just find it really satisfying to see the correct implementation of this because, again, it's so rare to find it in the budget price range. The other feature that I really love that's really amazing in this price range is the clasp on this watch. So this is one of those tool-free micro-adjust clasps. It has a push button on the inside of the clasp where by pushing the button, you can slide the band in and out of the clasp to resize it on the fly. This is a feature that is starting to become more and more common in watches, but again, it's typically found in watches costing $400 or $500, not in watches costing $200 to $300. And this feature for me makes a huge difference in the comfort of a watch and in just the ability to customize the fit on a day-to-day or month-to-month basis. Bracelets can be a bit of a pain, whereas if you have to add or remove links, it takes a significant amount of time. And if your wrist size changes to the point where the bracelet is no longer comfortable, you're likely going to stop wearing the watch. This allows you to very easily remedy that at any time. And I have seen some very cheap clasps on AliExpress that offer this feature that are just not very smooth or pleasant to use. It has a very smooth operation. Likewise, the bracelet is excellent quality. This is a solid bracelet. It's a beads of rice bracelet with solid links, solid end links. You've got beautifully polished center links and then brushed edge links. It's a very fluid and smooth bracelet that conforms perfectly to the wrist and has great articulation as well. Again, another very premium feature here. The bracelet, the bezel action, the ceramic bezel itself, that tool-free micro-adjust clasp, these are all things that brands will typically leave out in order to save on cost, but San Martin has included all of them and still been able to offer this at a really low price. Even if you don't pick this up on the 11/11 sale, I think they normally have this listed around $300, so that's just, again, insane for everything that they're offering here. But again, we've kind of gotten used to seeing that from a lot of these AliExpress brands. They do continue to raise the bar, and I think this one is one of the best quality watches I've seen come out of an AliExpress brand. But the place where these brands have struggled has been with the design of the watches and having to have this over-reliance on copying other luxury brands. And so that's why it's cool to see what is essentially an original design here. Now, it's, again, not a groundbreaking design. It definitely has a lot of inspiration. It has kind of a classic vintage skin diver feel. But for me, it's totally fair to draw inspiration from watch design in the past to create a kind of new vintage look. And I think they pulled it off rather well here. Now, it's worth noting that this watch comes in two color variants that really change up the personality of the watch. I went with the kind of blue and teal version, which has a lot of colors. I think it gives it more of kind of a retro 70s feel. But if you want a more classic looking watch, they have one that's a more classic black with red accents. But I think this colorful one is just such a fun option. And even though there are a lot of different colors on here, I mean, you have kind of a royal blue bezel, a teal dial, an orange second hand, and a red GMT hand. It all kind of works for me. This feels like a fun, fresh summer watch from the past. I think the overall style of this watch is kind of reminiscent of a skin diver. You have a 39mm case with a screw down, unguarded crown. The case is very sleek, and it's actually not that thick at only 12mm, which is pretty good for a GMT watch. Given the 100 meters of water resistance, this watch will handle almost all water sports activities, and yet still small enough and comfortable enough to wear as a traveler's watch as you're jet setting around the globe. The dial is rather simple with loomed baton markers for the 12 hours. And a slim pencil-shaped hour and minute hand. And even though these loomed areas are fairly slim, they do have a pretty strong, bright blue glow that looks great in the dark. And it's cool that they loom that bezel so that you can actually read the 24-hour scale as well as the standard 12-hour time, even if the lights are off. Another kind of impressive thing here is that they managed to perfectly color match the date wheel to the dial. So this is a very unique dial color with this kind of muted teal shade, but the date wheel perfectly matches that and kind of really blends in down at 6 o'clock. And while I'm impressed with that, I think I would have preferred to actually have a white background on the date because that date is taking the place of the 6 o'clock marker. And in that case, I think you want it to be fairly visible. Otherwise, you kind of notice the absence of that marker at 6 o'clock. But since the date does have a silver bevel around it, it kind of mitigates that and does make it look like there is something there down at 6. So I think that's okay. The overall design of this watch is fairly simple. It's really in the details of this that things start to look interesting. The finishing is excellent. That ceramic bezel really pops, and that sapphire crystal also adds a lot of character. All of these small details really enhance the look of the watch, and I think overall the design is just good enough. And again, it's kind of interesting to get that excited over a design that's kind of just good enough. But that is an area that I think has been lacking in a lot of these direct from China manufacturers brands in the past. This is a relatively simple, unoffensive design. I like it. It looks good, but it's not particularly original. It's not particularly interesting, but I think you can get really excited for the level of quality that you're getting for the cost and all of the amazing features that are packed in here. That's still the biggest draw of this watch, and it's not an homage. And for me and for a lot of other people out there, I think that's going to be more than enough to make you want to pick up this watch. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think of this watch in particular. Again, I'm pretty excited about this one. I think this is the best watch from AliExpress that I have seen yet. And I hope that this trend of brands doing more original designs that are good designs like this continues. If brands like San Martin can really establish themselves as not only providing incredibly low prices, but also creating fresh, original, good watch designs, they're really going to be a force to be reckoned with in the watch industry. And if you're interested in getting a watch-themed hoodie or t-shirt, make sure you check out my website at justthewatch.com. I'm selling this design along with many more. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.